Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Let's talk about NWA Superpowerrr. So last week on Power Surge, we learned that there was going to be a 14-man battle royal, minus the champion, so minus the Pope, minus Chris Adonis, and minus Nick Aldis and the tag team champions for the number one contender for the NWA World Title. Nick Aldis was not happy about that decision. He didn't like that. So he stormed off. So that brings us to this week. Now, Joe Galley is hanging out with Strictly Business, and he told us about his unhappiness about the world title battle royal. So all this said that Billy Corgan apparently wants to go back to the Attitude Era because he doesn't want to live in the Gratitude Era, and talked about all the things that he did for NWA, all the shows and the promotion, and how great of a world champion he is, and having to deal with May Valentine undressing him with his eyes. And he says that, he kind of mocked the idea of a battle royal. Like, it's 2021, and we're talking about doing a battle royal, And then they started talking about, Joe Galley was talking about Chris Adonis and Latimer having a number one contender for the tag team titles. And that, then Nick Aldis said that if Pope hadn't ran away from Latimer, then Latimer would be the TV champion right now. And then he says that in due time, Camille will be the women's champion, which they turned to Camille and they asked for a response from the challenge Thunder Rosa laid down. Thunder Rosa laid down the challenge earlier in the night. Well, not earlier in the night, but several weeks ago, probably 2 weeks ago, for her to put her number one contendership matchup in one more match, in which Camille says she'll think about it and she'll respond. So Camille says she'll tell Thunder Rosa what she thinks later. Then we kick it back to Nick Aldis, who said that, he thought about it, he put some thought into it, and he decided that the tag team title match is off. We're done. No tag team title match. He says he doesn't really want these guys in the battle royal, or he wants them in the battle royal. He wants to go against the best of the best. Of course, it was weird because Chris Adonis can't be in the battle royal. He can't be in the battle royal because he has a title. So I guess what this means is he's trying to keep Aaron Stevens and Kratos out of the battle royal. Because if Latimer and Adonis were to win the titles, then Adonis would have 2 belts, and that will create 2 more contenders for all this. So I'm guessing that's what he means is he wants Latimer in the battle royal rather, and Kratos, Aaron Stevens, and Adonis won't be in the battle royal, And I think Kratos is kind of like an affiliate of Strictly Business, so this all works out. So because Camille was mentioned in this earlier piece, let's talk about the Camille promo that she did with Thunder Rosa. Camille is so country. I'm thinking maybe her brothers or something drag race down a dirt road. I mean, she is super country. I'm just like, wow. I mean, she's got to be like from Itchy Crotch, Tennessee, or the Butt Ranch in middle of Kentucky or something. I mean, she is just country as hell. My goodness, I'm pretty sure she didn't see shoes until she was 9 or 10 years old. Anyway, so Thunder Rosa and Camille, they did a face-to-face. Both had their seconds with them. So Melina was with Thunder Rosa and Taryn Terrell with Camille. And then Thunder Rosa wanted to talk first, and she said she wanted to give Camille a little bit of a lesson. She wanted to give her a lecture, and then, Taryn was like, oh no, we don't get a lecture, I don't want to hear this. And then Thunder Rosa starts talking about, women's wrestling, and that, she talks about Mildred Burke, and about how Mildred Burke got her start by wrestling men in the carnivals, and then she hit a skid because women couldn't wrestle on a lot of these NWA shows because nobody believed that they could draw. Nobody believed that the women could be stars. I mean, I'm pretty sure she just said that there were some states that banned women's wrestling because they did. That would be an easier way to tell this story. So she says she remembers how the struggles of women like Mildred Burke when she was the champion. And then when she was the champion, she represented the NWA with honor and respect, and that she's a fighter. And that she wants Camille to remember that as she makes her decision. And if she goes on to win the title, she wants her to think about that, to really represent the NWA with honor and respect. So then the crowd really is starting to get on Camille's nerves that she's trying to talk. She's starting her bumpkin speech, and Camille's are covered by Taryn Terrell. Taryn Terrell is covering her ears, and Camille's like, "Hey, look, why don't you calm down? I need you to calm down, please. I don't want to be touched like that." Which I thought was pretty funny because of her goddamn accent. Anyway, Camille starts saying that she thinks about the history all the time. She thinks about it when she works out, when she hits the gym, and every time she shows up on NWA Powerrr, which she's been on since the beginning, she thinks about the history of women's wrestling. And then she says that, and I've been paying attention to you as you go off and work otherwhere in other places, and you leave NWA behind. I think about that stuff all the time. I've been here. I stay here. I'm NWA through and through. And then, of course, Thunder Rosa was like, is that a problem for you? Is that a problem for you, Chica? And you know how fast she talks and with that accent. So many accents. Anyway, Camille kind of ignored the whole "are you jealous" angle. And she starts talking about the rules. You know, she says, I will accept your challenge to put my #1 contendership on the line. But here are the rules. It's going to be a 20-minute match. And if I win, when I win, you are banned from everywhere except the NWA. That you're going to have to stay here and watch me win the NWA Women's Championship. You're going to stay here with little old me and watch me win the NWA Women's title. And Thunder Rosa accepted the challenge. But I do think that this is a very creative decision. It's a very creative decision because we know the Camille's character is in some ways a little bit jealous of Thunder Rosa. That Thunder Rosa has a greater fan appeal due to the fact that she's been on AEW a few times. Well, she's been on there pretty regularly. So now I'll try to cut that off by saying, nope, you're not going to be a bigger star than me. You won't be able to go anywhere else. You're going to have to be under me. Once I'm the champion, you're going to have to be under me. She could have did, you have to leave the NWA for good. You could have done any number of things, but she chose something that was specifically unique and still petty. And I appreciate the hell out of it. That's an actual pretty good stipulation that you're stuck here in the NWA and you can't go anywhere. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if the match is going to be a 20-minute, like an Iron Woman match, but Camille just said it's going to be a 20-minute match. Maybe it's a 20-minute time limit, but be an Iron Woman match. I don't know how I feel about that one. A 20-minute Iron Woman match? Ooh, we'll see. Anyway, the men, there was a TV title qualifier. Mims loses to Matt Cross. Matt Cross is now going to be the #1 contender for the TV title. This is the third chance that either one of these guys had. There's been 2 triple threat matches in which both these guys were in it, and they both lost. And they lost again. And now they just wrestle each other, and Mims lost. So Matt Cross will be wrestling Pope for the television title. Matt Cross has felt like, even though, he's in Lucha Underground, he's felt like a secondary figure in this whole thing. Like, he doesn't talk. He just shows up, wrestles one match, and then disappears. Anyway, the TV title was involved, so Tyrus and Austin Idol comes out, and they called out the Pope. Pope then came out and said that Austin Idol's been talking about people behind their backs his whole career, and he's interested in what he's got to say into somebody's face. So then Austin Idol said that the Pope has been running and hiding and that he barely survived wrestling Tyrus, but says that he appreciates the fact that, Pope has 4 wins out of the 7 needed to get a world title match. And that, despite the fact that he ran from Tyrus and barely survived, he does like him and he does like his style. So he wanted to shake Pope, of course, obligatory, look into the crowd to see whether they wanted him to shake Austin Idol's hand, which of course they didn't. So then Pope walked away. And then Austin Idol's talking about, oh, that's going to be like that. I tried to give the man a compliment, and this is how he acts. So there was, human mannequin May Valentine was talking to Aaron Stevens, asked about the tag team title match, which will not be happening. Of course, at the time they thought it was going to happen. May asked Aaron Stevens about this, and Aaron Stevens said he's not concerned about Anderson Latimer and wants to focus on being the tag team champion. And then when she asked about how he really feels about his partner, Aaron Stevens says, like, look, him and Kratos aren't best friends. They aren't really friends at all. That the team was formed because he has to do a job, and Kratos has been really good at doing that job, and that's beating people up. And he says that now they're the tag team champions. They have to have the utmost respect for these titles, and he wants Kratos to respect being the tag team champion. All he needs him to do. They don't need to be friends, and I think that that's also quite unique. It's not often we have a situation where a guy hired muscle to do something and then kind of loses control of it together. So I'm glad they're not in a rush to take the titles off of them. They're still trying to play this whole thing where, Kratos obviously doesn't just want to lose. He's not going to just throw away a title. Titles mean money. So he's not just going to throw them away. So they're forced to defend these titles, but they're also not buddies. But they're also not feuding with each other. They're bickering. They disagree, but they're not feuding. They're not trying to kill one another. So this is a building tense tension. Of course, eventually they're going to fight. Eventually they're going to boil over. But they're taking their time with it. And I appreciate that. I think this is pretty good. NWA is only an hour, and it's very good for the angles and the commentary and all that type of stuff that they do. It's quite good. Some of the matches could use some work, and personalities could use some work, but for the most part, it's still a pretty good show. Sal Rinauro was not done with Kratos. He wanted to fight Kratos because he says Kratos disrespected him, and that while he appreciated May Valentine and Tim Storm and everybody taking up for him, he has to fight Kratos by himself. And essentially what ends up happening is Kratos comes out there and beats the hell out of Sal Rinauro and pins him. And that was pretty much it. that was pretty much it. So the main event of the show was Jax Dane versus Slice Boogie, Falls Count Anywhere. It was pretty hard hitting, but I hated the finish. I hated the finish. The finish was absolute trash. There was a big spot from Slice Boogie when he jumped over the top rope, though. That was pretty dope. I'm not going to make fun of Slice Boogie being from New York. Not this week. We'll do it next week. Anyway, Crimson came out, and Boogie looked at Jax Dane, and as Jax Dane was getting hit with a chair, which was very tame. They used one chair and they wrestled outside the ring for a little while. This is the most tame Falls Count Anywhere match I've probably ever seen in forever. Anyway, the Crimson was being mocked by Slice Boogie. Crimson had brought a towel to throw it in just in case Jax Dane was in trouble. Slice Boogie had put the chair around the head of Jax Dane like a necklace and was going to run into it and drop kick it or something. But then Crimson got his attention. So that allowed Jax Dane to, kind of wake up and get back in the game. He then just charged across the ring at Slice Boogie, who moved out of the way, and Crimson was knocked off the ring apron and knocked onto the floor. If you know anything about NWA, you know that there's no pads on the floor. There's no pads anywhere on the floor. So Crimson just basically took a crash on the floor, and it was the safest bump of all time. And Crimson goes down and pretends to barely be. And Jax Dane is like, "Are you okay, man?" And he starts, getting down on one knee to see if he's okay. And Slice Boogie is telling Dane to get back in the ring and finish the fight. And then Jax Dane just picks up the towel and throws the towel in, surrendering the match because he cares more about his buddy. He cares more about Crimson than he does about winning. And you know what? This would have worked if the bump had been serious. Like if it had been like a bump through a table or something like that, then, or something that would led me to believe that Crimson could really be injured. This might have worked where he basically just throws the match away. And it's you gain nothing from winning. You lose nothing from losing. So, why put yourself through through the drama of this match. So it was, again, I don't like the idea of, I believe they did this in Blood and Guts, where somebody just randomly gives up on somebody else's behalf, which I thought they were going to do, and I still think they're teasing a Crimson heel turn. But I was okay with the finish because it felt like the right thing to do, that something that Jax Dane would do, because he's been talking about being his brother's keeper and him looking out for Crimson, and that's his little brother and everything. So it makes sense that if Crimson is in danger, he would be like, look, I don't care about this match. I don't get anything from winning anyway. So, we're done here. And then they can always fight again later. So, okay, but this is the second time Crimson has done this, Well, at least, is it second time Crimson has done this? Or was it last time Jax Dane the one laying all over the floor? Well, that's what I think it is. I think last time it was Jax Dane laying on the floor dead for it felt like forever. So these guys, they're still teasing their breakup, and they're teasing this Crimson heel turn. I'm not thrilled about that. And this is kind of what I mean by NWA kind of needs to work on their in-ring stuff. Some of these guys they just need better in-ring talent. Guys are, wrestling a little bit more of an exciting style. I'm glad they're not breaking out the blades and trying to do too much. They're putting on very respectable Southern style pro wrestling, and I enjoy it. It was an enjoyable show. Strictly Business was supposed to wrestle for the tag team titles, and they essentially left. So the show ends with the commentator saying, are they gone? Are they coming out? I mean, what are they going to do? And it's just Joe Galli's, surprised that nobody comes out for this tag team title match. And he's like, Kratos and Stevens are waiting, and I guess the show is over. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Now, that was kind of strange. It was a strange finish to this show because they did promote, and they continued to promote, a tag team title match, which did not happen. Now, I think that maybe after, all this said it wasn't going to happen, they should have stopped promoting it. Or they should have showed, Strictly Business leaving the building or something, and not wait into the very last minute. Like, it's okay for you to say, oh yeah, we're not wrestling, and then you build on that. You show, these guys basically saying that they're leaving, they're packing their bags and they leave. And then maybe you have Kratos and Aaron Stevens come out, and the referee says, you guys, you got 10 seconds to get in the ring, or it's going to be over by forfeit. And then they do the count, and, that's it. That would have been, I think, probably better. But, they did it the way they did it, which was very unappealing, because they were still talking about the match as if it was going to happen. And then they said it's not going to happen. And then they left you waiting to see if it was going to happen. And then the match didn't happen. And even after the credits started to roll, I'm like, obviously this is a gag. Nope, not a gag. It's real. I was like, holy shit. That was a ballsy move, Corrigan. I mean, and this was not my favorite episode of NWA. Like, there were things about it I enjoyed, obviously. But Superpowerrr, to me, was not super. We were supposed to get a tag team title match. It didn't happen. And then the actual main event of the show ended with the guy throwing in the towel on himself. I was not thrilled with that. And then also the only other match on the show that was worth anything was the TV title thing, and it was kind of like I didn't really care about that. I didn't really care about Saul Ronaldo and Kratos. The promo segments made up for it, because I think the promo segments were actually pretty good, but the in-ring work on this show was not the best. It was the weakest part of the show. And I didn't like the execution of the main event. I didn't like the execution of that finish. I hated it, as we're being honest. And I hated the fact that we were bait and switched, that we were told the main event was going to happen. It didn't. Generally speaking, I like NWA Powerrr. It's good Southern pro wrestling for the most part. They don't try to geek each other to death. Not over the top in as far as cursing and everything. It's good PG style wrestling, but it's done in a way that is still mature and doesn't insult your intelligence. So it is a very mature, very throwback wrestling show. But this was not my favorite episode of NWA Powerrr. There was no match for me to really get involved in, but the angles and stuff like that were pretty good. Well, the angle of for Camille versus Thunder Rosa was a good hook. And while I'm interested in what they're going to do about this whole strictly business thing, I didn't like the fact that they continued to tell us that the match was going to happen and the match didn't happen. And of course, wasn't thrilled about the idea of Jax Dane and Slice Boogie being the main event. It's like almost like you didn't have any faith in those guys' ability to main event, or you just would have said that was the main event. But let me know what you guys think. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel if you dare, to keep the channel alive and feed my shawarma addiction. Thank you, and I'll talk to you guys later.